Alrighty guys, welcome back to the shop, WGR Garage here, and we are back on the buggy. Alright guys, let's start digging through this pile of parts and hopefully start installing some of this stuff. So, game plan is to try to get this in today. Let's rebuild this shock, that's the bent one. This is the electric hydraulic pump. This overpressurized because I smashed the tree so bad here that it shoots pressure through the ram and overpressurizes the pump and blows some seals. So I need to get something called, I believe it's called like a pillow valve or something like that. And basically what it does is it maybe a crossover or a crossover bypass valve. Anyways, the valve helps out when you overpressurize a system and it sends fluid, it crosses them, so it feeds it back into like the tank or whatever it is, so it doesn't blow up your hydraulics like I did. So anyways, let's tear that thing apart, let's fix that, let's install that. Alright guys, there you have it. So rebuilt, new shock. I think it's like a nickel something coating on it. It's a darker looking shaft, so it's got some sort of coating on it. I can't remember what it's called, but anyways, yeah, she's good to go. So straight as an arrow now. We'll I suppose we can mount some coilovers on the front of this thing. So I think that's what's up next. Alrighty guys, new day out in the shop, already getting super hot out here. Kind of put in some interior paneling, started routing wiring and fuel lines, transmission lines. Nothing's really zip tied up yet or anything, but I did route or mount my transmission fan, rear rock lights, fuel pump and fuel filter regulator, whatever you want to call that, filter regulator. So we're making progress. Just got to keep going. Oh, and I put the speakers up there and a vent line. So making progress. The hard part is organizing everything. So once it's all laid in there and routed nicely, then I start zip tying it in place and making it pretty. So one thing I didn't really think about is my grounds. So normally I have chassis grounds. So I guess I'm going to have to, wire wheel off some of the powder coat just so it has a good ground and a chassis ground. I didn't think about that. Once it's powder coated, how do you ground the chassis? So I don't want to run a ground or a distribution block or anything like that. So I think I'm just going to wire wheel up some of the holes and use specific spots for my grounds on the chassis. But anyways, gonna continue with all that crap. Just chugging along. Alrighty guys, here's an update. Got both seats mounted, seat belts mounted, shifter mounted, dash mounted, little things underneath, started zip tying some stuff. Really still got the rear steer pump to put on over here. The radiator reservoir needs to go in. Still moving right along, but as you can see, no engine still. So we're still on hold for the engine. I don't really want to get too far ahead of myself because if you recall, tearing this apart, it's a pain in the butt to get all the engine, the transmission, and the transfer case in with the firewall installed. So I want to put it all in as one unit just because it's easiest to do that. And then later on, if I need to change a motor or transmission, you just got to pull them out individually. So I didn't make the belly unbolt. I probably should have, but at the time I said, oh, I can easily just, pull it in and out as a package. But it's more of a pain in the butt than I thought. So anyways, moving forward, hopefully the engine just stays together forever. The transmission stays together forever. And then the transfer case stays together forever. And then I don't have any issues removing anything. So piece of cake, right? However, I am going to start mounting the steering ram, so let's get the steering ram mounted and the knuckles attached to it and move on to something else. have a motor. Very, very excited right now. So finally have my motor here for the buggy. It is time to start putting this thing back together. So tonight, hopefully we're gonna get the engine, the trans and transfer case dropped into the buggy, and it's pretty much off to the races after that. I mean, you're just, whatever can go on it, firewall pieces, everything, just reassemble everything. So pretty stoked right now. This thing, I'm not sure if I recapped it, but it has, let's see, the crank has been repolished or ground. It's got Gen 4 connecting rods with Gen 4 GM flat top pistons. It has, the heads have been decked. They're 706 heads. We got decked heads. I got GPI rockers, I believe, is who I went with on those. Brian Tooley, the hardened springs or whatever you want to call it. I can't remember what springs are on it, but yeah, got a whole bunch of good stuff. So we got a double roller Jags, I believe, or Summit timing chain set. It is ready to go. So brand new high volume oil pump. I think that's the gist of it. But anyways, that thing needs to get connected to my transmission, which is over here. Fresh trans, turbo 350, stage 2 kit in that, and yeah, let's put it in here with that transfer case. So 205 transfer case, I already rebuilt that one about 2 or 3 years ago, so it is good to go, just needs bolted back together, and we can finally get the buggy up and running. So that's what's gonna be what I'm doing for the next 2 weeks. So without further ado, let's get to work. So I just noticed this. Macy stuck a bunch of lemons in the shock. So I guess she got into Michelle's lemonade, and there are the lemons. So there is some over here. Let's not forget about the other one. It needs to be balanced. I have more lemons over here. And all these bolts are from Macy as well. There's a bunch of bolts. There's a bolt here. At least she got the right size on this one. There's a bolt there. Normally there's more bolts in here, but I took my bolt bin and I put it up here. So now let's get to work. Alrighty guys, change of plans. I had everything kind of on the ground over here, then figured having the transmission up higher and then just lining the engine up to dowel pins is the easiest way to do that. I do have a new torque converter and I did throw it in there already, and right now I'm checking the spacing. So getting in here, this is the mounting face or the flange, and there's play between them. That's what you want. But obviously you have to put something in here, shim this to have it, you know, bolt in there against the face, because that's as far forward as it goes, because the pilot bushing right there, that's all it allows it to do. So this is perfect, but you have to figure out what the shim is. And this is a 1/4 inch, just a random piece of metal I had in the shop, 1/4 inch thick. And it's actually the perfect thickness. So if I back this torque converter all the way into the trans, slide this 1/4 inch piece in there, hopefully you can see that there's space in between it, and you can actually move the torque converter forward just a little bit. That's what you want. So we are going to make some 1/4 inch shims, and then I also have to drill this flywheel just a little bit to make this bolt pattern work on this flywheel. So that is why I did all of this, is to ensure that this spacing was all correct and everything is good. Thank you, Macy. So, and that is in accordance with directions. Look at me go. All right, guys, fresh day out here. Motor mounted, everything's tightened up. Actually, I don't think I did the motor mounts going into the block, but I got the firewall going in. Still got a bunch of hardware to do and a bunch of routing, so I got to poke all the lines through. Get the ECM mounted on the other side. That's pretty much the first thing I like to mount, and then bundle all your wires to that as you kind of route everything. So, but anyways, making progress. Let's continue on. All right, guys, before going any farther, I do kind of want to change the injectors out, so when I hook up all the wiring and route all the wiring, it's all correct and in the right spot, and I don't have to remove the fuel rail. So these are stock truck injectors. I have 42-pound Holley injectors that I got from the same guy that rebuilt the motor. So he had those, and it just kind of informed me it was a good idea to upgrade to the 42-pounders. So we are going to be popping those bad boys in there, and then continuing on. guys, I think everything's good to go. As far as I know. I guess we'll give it a shot. I don't have the exhaust all the way hooked up, so it's going to be a little louder than normal, but we'll see what happens. I don't have the right tune in it, I don't think.
Yo, we'll pick up where we left off tomorrow.
Michelle says we'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. It's really loud. It's like 9 o'clock. This is actually the stock tune, so stock 5.3 tune, and this has a whole bunch of stuff done to it. So tomorrow, before I start it again, I'm going to go get the Brian Tooley Stage 3, the tune off of Outlaw Buggy. I'm going to take that tune and upload it onto here, so at least it has something or some sort of parameter to run off of besides the stock tune. So we'll give that a try tomorrow. I mean, I would say success. I'm not super thrilled right now because I want to hear it run and idle, but it's still pretty cool to hear it go bang. The oil pressure already shot up to like 70 psi. I'm not sure what it's going to be at when it's at idling, but it's pretty dang good right now. Still got fluids to top off. Yeah, we'll figure all the rest of it out tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have this thing up and running. Alrighty guys, Macy and I struggled to get the buggy running. I couldn't get HP Tuners to work. I bought the credits through HP Tuners, but it will not link up or resync to my whatever you call it, the little tuner piece that goes into your OBD2. So I gave up. I got frustrated. I pulled the ECM out of Outlaw Buggy. So instead of copying, I just stole the whole ECM or ECU or whatever you want to call this thing, and it does start. So I'm going to show you that it runs right now. I have no brakes. I still got other fluids to top off, but it indeed does run. So let's go. I'm working on topping off fluids. It puked out some coolant. I'll figure that out, but it's up and running. Sounds pretty freaking cool. Whoa! So the next thing I want to do is get this thing out of the garage. So I don't have any brakes. I'll have to wait on driving it unless I just use the key and turn it off. So we are going to clean this place up because Macy destroyed it. You can see all her coolant everywhere and all her stuff. Just kidding. But anyways, we got to get it outside. So that's what's up next. All right, guys, now that it's moving, one of the last things I got to do is cut off my ram. Again, to recap it, I smashed a tree here, snapped or bent this side of the ram really bad. So the ram's not trash, just the shaft is trash. So in order to get me through the rest of the weekend, I ended up just welding straight to the shaft, straight to the rear mount and shaft and mount here. So it's fairly straight. I'm able to drive it, but at the same time, it's time to cut it off of there, and I have a brand new one buried back there under the V8s. So we'll get that one mounted up, and then yeah, check another thing off the list. What are you doing, bud? Well, guys, Gwatney today, Gwatney Performance Innovations, I think is the company. They killed it on the tune. So Ben was in there and he did a awesome job. Let me rip through the parking lot and getting her all tuned up. So I would say it's easily got twice the power in it probably did have with the old motor. So that is pretty exciting. So there's a few things I got to button up. I got a bunch of zip ties I got to cut. I still got some bolts missing. These don't have bolts in it. I still have some zip ties to put on and do a final bolt check and a fluid check, and it should be good to go for Rocktoberfest. So with that, be sure to subscribe, like, share, do all that good stuff. And 1, check us out at Disney. If you are in the area, check out Rocktoberfest. It should be a really good time. And then 2, we'll catch you on the next episode, guys. Thanks.